Thanks, Dave. From Hidetaka Miyazaki, the creative genius behind the Souls series, comes Bloodborne.
I've been waiting for one of your ilk. Waiting for it to end. It always does. Always has, you know, since forever.
In Bloodborne, you play a hunter in a Van Helsing-like world full of lycanthropic beasts and demonic creatures. After a bit of character customization, I went for a creepy Sonic this time.
No! Barjo, for the sake of this review, and I think everyone watching at home, can we just go with my character for the gameplay footage?
No, gotta go fast. The hunt is on.
As the game begins, you awake into a strange dream hub world and soon learn you're part of a long line of hunters. Your job is to fight back the beasts while the townsfolk lock themselves inside.
So what is it now? Are much better ways to pass the time.
I quite liked this mythology, Barjo, so I was keen to see what kind of world they created using it.
Yeah, there's a lot they can explore with this setting, and it's all delightfully creepy.
There are no humans left. They're all flesh-hungry beasts now.
As a disclaimer, we're only about 20 hours into Bloodborne, so there's still much we have to discover about the game in general.
Barjo, this is developed by From Software, so naturally I expected Bloodborne to share a few ideas with the Souls games, but I don't think I quite expected it to be this similar.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of copy and paste, isn't there? But you know what, Hex? I'm fine with it. When game design is this good, copy and paste as much as you like. The controls are nearly identical. There's creepy, cryptic NPCs.
Tell them about this here Erden Chapel, if you wouldn't mind.
Co-op and invasions. Brutally tough enemies. Nasty dogs. Swinging blades. Shinies everywhere just begging you to collect them. Giant rats. And so many barrels. Hex, I think the next-gen hardware has allowed them to up the number of barrels and pots you can roll into this time around.
Oh, well, the future really is here. In fact, Bloodborne has so many similar systems and ideas that we're going to look at it as more of a sort of spiritual successor, sequel, alternate universe game to Dark Souls.
And just like the Souls series, it is brutally difficult. There is no safety net. You're thrust into this world with only a handful of gear, and then it's up to you to find the path of least resistance. This is a delightful journey of death and fear.
As you walk about learning enemy movesets and the best way to take them down, you constantly build this imaginary map in your mind of the zone you're in.
I love that initial discovery process, Hex, and all the levels seem to interlock and interconnect, much like with Dark Souls 1, but not like Dark Souls 2, and I think we've got Miyazaki's guidance over this game to thank for that.
It's quite stressful though, trying to figure out where to go, isn't it? You never really know if you're heading the right way, and there's always a couple of paths ahead of you. But then that's half the fun, isn't it? Just testing the waters and finding little shortcuts. There'll be blocked sections that you keep in the back of your mind and NPCs that'll give you tasks.
Yes, and then you find those zones where the enemies are so tough that they're taking you out in just 1 or 2 hits, and you think to yourself, okay, maybe this zone is a problem for future me.
All right, let's talk about the combat. It's a mix of light and heavy attacks, drop downs, plus a charged heavy attack, which makes timing very important. Hitboxes are perfect, so if an enemy swings at you and the weapon goes over your head, it won't hit you. I think that's actually the key to what makes this combat so engaging.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest difference in this combat compared to the Souls games is that this is much more aggressive. In Souls games, fights can be long, slow-paced duels with a sword and a shield where two heavily armoured warriors slowly pick away at each other. There are shields in Bloodborne, but the one I have found is pretty useless. This is all about dodging and hitting back as fast as possible. 1, 2, 1, 2.
It's such a change of pace. You can't wait for opportunity now, you just have to get in there and fight. It makes each encounter something that you have to totally work yourself up for and then jump in head first.
It's also reinforced by a unique damage reward system. It works like this. When you take damage and lose health, you have a very short window of time, seconds even, to get it back. And you do this by doing damage to any enemy. So this makes fights less of a duel and more of a boxing match.
It works so well, doesn't it? And I love when you're locked onto an enemy, instead of rolling, you can end up doing a fancy dash. It's a stylish way to fight, and it makes sense for the hunters. It's also different enough that you have plenty to learn.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get the hang of it, but now I crave those fights. There's no more endless circling around, fishing for backstabs. It's all about staggering your enemy at the right time and knowing when to back off and regain some stamina. In fact, I think stamina is the most important stat you can pump points into.
Yet weapons are interesting too, for a few reasons. In your left hand, you can hold a torch, or this pointless shield, but the most important left-hand weapons are guns. Time them right as an enemy is attacking and you can knock them to their knees, which allows you a brief moment for a brutal and devastating attack.
This stun move is kind of like the difficult riposte move from the Souls games and almost as hard to pull off. And when things go bad, it's very bad. Guns can also be used to bait enemies and get their attention, or to stop charging foes. I like the guns, but I wish how they worked was a bit more interesting.
Yeah, there isn't a huge amount of variety in other weapons either, although the weapons you do have can transform.
I love this so much. Everything about transforming is brilliant. There's even a cane that becomes a whip. So cool.
Yeah, it's great, and each form works better against different enemies too. A press of a button and a blade can become a spear, an axe can become a two-hander, a sword can slide into a stone mallet. I mean, it must have been a tricky thing to balance, but I think they've nailed it.
Yeah, and there isn't a huge amount of weapons for you to choose from, but I actually don't mind that because it means you get to nail down the strategy for each one. There's less gear to muck around with as well so far, but once again, it's nice not having to spend so much time with item and weight management. You can just chuck on a top hat and get down to business.
When you die, you drop your blood echoes. This is the game's currency, like the souls in Souls. But in a devilish twist, when you return to the place you fell, they won't always be on the ground. They can actually be absorbed by an enemy.
It raises the stakes, doesn't it? It means you can't just run in there and grab your echoes and get to safety. You have to fight. It makes the fights genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, this is a really terrifying game at times, especially when you're low on health and you're out of health files and really far away from a respawn point.
Yeah, and those respawn lanterns are so few and far between, you really have to work to light one.
Oh, and the bosses, I mean, they just appear. The only real way you have any idea if you're about to start a boss fight is if the room seems just a little bit too big. And then suddenly, health bar, and it's on.
So mean.
I know. Now, Bajo, you've obviously put quite a lot of time into the Souls games because you go on about them a lot.
I love them so much.
Like all the time.
They're so good.
I haven't become quite as obsessed with them as you, mostly because I get frustrated by the constant and humiliating death.
Death is your reward.
That doesn't mean I don't appreciate their unique design and ideas. Far from it. But I guess my question to you is, as a mega fan, do you think this is too much of a clone?
Well, I see the Souls games as more like a genre now, and so this is just another flavor of ice cream. Bring on the clones. I think we'll only see more of this type of game now because it resonates so much with those who revel in this huge challenge for tiny but delectable rewards.
You know, there is so much to like about this game, Barjo. They've made so many wonderful tweaks and choices with the combat. But even still, I don't feel like I'm enjoying it. And I put that down mostly to the location and area design, not so much the difficulty. Each zone is designed differently and the enemy setups are unique. But so much of it just looks the same, and I find that repetitive and really draining.
Yeah, it's pretty grey.
Oh, so grey. I just need a little bit of variety, especially when I'm in so much pain. It's actually one of the things that sort of stopped me from wanting to go back into this world.
No.
But don't you agree, though? I mean, around every corner, it's just more graveyards and churches.
Sometimes the graveyards have a bit of grass on them. I do agree with you, though.
Beasts all over the shop.
I think the lore they've built around this world might have limited their creativity with its design. I just keep waiting for that big reveal where I turn a corner or open a door and it's a brand new area, and it just hasn't happened yet. And the Souls games do that constantly.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be fair, we could encounter some of that later on, but I think it's still a fair criticism considering how far we are into this already.
I do like reviewing and playing these games just as they've come out though, Hex, because there's no guides to tempt you, nothing to help you. We still have no idea how some of the systems even work, and it's fun trying to discover their importance. This game is full of little secrets.
Yeah, like that weird frenzy light which summons this guy. Oh, what the hell, game?
Yeah, that guy's a jerk. There's also a beast system of some sort, and an insights counter, which reminds me of humanity a little. What's really interesting about them is that as far as I can tell, they change enemy patterns, placements, and even some of the weapons they use depending on your insight level. And there are ways to make this go up and down.
Yeah, the first time you see one of those bagmen in a place where they're not supposed to be, it's quite confronting. I hate the bagmen.
Yeah, me too. They're so tough, and I can only assume that their bag is full of gross body parts. Sadly, at the time of reviewing, we couldn't test out the online functionality of this game, and that's a big part of it. There'll be messages left on the ground, invasions, co-op, so we'll try and do an update soon, maybe on Pocket, our daily show, which you can watch on iView and YouTube daily. We also only had a quick go through one of the Chalice challenges, which are procedurally generated dungeon crawls. It was tough and just a whole other thing that we need to explore later. But for now, Hex, based on what we've played so far, how do you feel about Bloodborne overall?
Stressed, mostly in a good way. It's just those fights, Barjo. It's hard for me to find a good balance of enjoyment.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be alone in that. Even so, I think any game that can make you sit up and pay attention and focus like Bloodborne does is tapping into something a bit magical.
You may think it all a mere bad dream.
And I know at the end of the year I'm going to look back and go, what was my top 3 games for the year? Oh yeah, Bloodborne's definitely in there, even with the issues I have. I'm giving it 4 stars.
It's 3 stars from me.